and think about all the things you've achieved and the ways in which you've grown professionally as well. Because when you up-level yourself, you are worth more as well, and you do add more value with every evolution of you. Hey badasses, welcome back to the Badass Careers YouTube channel. I'm really excited for this video because it's all about empowering you to ask for a pay rise. And I know some of you will be thinking, oh, I couldn't, given the circumstances, given the situation, right? The global pandemic, we're gonna go into recession, all of these kinds of things. And I want you to know, yes, you absolutely can. People are asking for pay rises and they're getting them too.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So yes, while businesses may be under particular pressures right now, and they still need to pay you your worth, they still need to pay you your value and what's fair and competitive on the market. And just the way business works, they're not a charity. They wouldn't have hired you if you weren't bringing immense value, more value than what you cost them. It's simple economics. So let's talk about highlighting that value and making a case for a well-deserved pay rise so you can get paid what you're worth. Now this video is designed for people who are staying internal and they are wanting to ask their current managers for a pay rise. But if you are simultaneously job hunting, either to assess your market value or to give yourself some options, definitely come and check out my free 1-hour resume masterclass. It is my juiciest tips and tricks to design a winning resume, a standout resume that's gonna land in the top 5% of applications, and it will help you to generate multiple job offers. So if you're interested in the masterclass, come and join me at www.badasscareers.com/badassmasterclass. So with all that said and done, let's jump into my top tips for asking for that well-deserved pay rise. Let's go. Okay, so my first tip that I just have to get out of the way is that asking for a pay rise is never personal. And this goes both ways. I mean, some people get so worked up and so guilty about asking for a pay rise to their manager as if it's the manager who's somehow, I don't know, going to be taking a chunk of money out of their pay packet to pay you or something like that. Like they're not personally paying you, right?
No!
It's the company as a whole. And it also goes the other way in that you can't come to the company and say, hey, you know, rent's really expensive, or I have this increased personal cost now, or I chose to move closer to the office and it's even more expensive to rent now. Like any of these kinds of personal issues about cost of living or family pressures or anything like that, like my partner lost their job or anything, that is not strategic ground for a pay rise. And even though your manager may have empathy for you, it's not something that they can bring as a business case to HR and to their manager to justify a bump in your pay. What you've got to remember is that as a professional, your job is to create value. Value is defined as the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. So when you're at the negotiating table, you've got to understand what the value is that you bring to your company, to your department, and to your manager. Your importance, your worth, or your usefulness. Again, for your audience. To do this, you need to take the time to think about what's most valuable to your decision makers. What do they care about? What's important to them? And how are you supporting that for them? That's going to be the level of conversation we're having. It's nothing personal. Tip number 2 is that I would encourage everyone to build up the confidence to ask. And this takes a bit of inner work, right? Because social programming has meant that we're often looking outside and seeking for external validation, for external parties or voices or influences to tell us that we are enough and that we're worthy. The thing is, if we don't believe on the inside that we really genuinely deserve this pay rise, it's going to be like trying to sell something that you don't 100% believe in. Like imagine if you went to a car yard to buy a new car and the salesman was like, yeah, it's got pretty good safety ratings. I mean, not sure it's the best on the lot, but really, yeah, really well for, you know, for this year. And yeah, no, it is a good model. It is really, really good overall. Yeah, for sure. No, it's done well. Like, obviously you're not buying this car.
No.
So you want to be able to exude the kind of confidence and inner knowing, and it has to be authentic and genuine. So you have to genuinely believe that this pay rise is yours. One of the things I recommend that any working professional does is keep a journal of your wins. Keep a folder of your feedback, your happy customers, happy team members, etc., in your email inbox, and even keep a spreadsheet which allows you to log your wins, highlights, accomplishments at the end of every single week or every single month. If you haven't done that, I definitely recommend sitting down for a while and really reflecting on all of the highs you've had and all of the contribution you've made, both within the scope of your role and going above and beyond. It's also a good moment to have informal conversations with people around you. Maybe you've got mentors, maybe you've got sponsors within the business, maybe you have colleagues, and asking them straight up from your perspective, how do you see me? How do you think I add value? Get some evidence and information from external parties as well to build your case on how amazing you truly are and how much contribution you do bring to the team. Another thing that is really useful to do is do a journaling exercise. And it starts like, I'd love to ask for a pay rise, but I'm worried that ... and see what comes up. A lot of us harbor a lot of sort of guilt or assumptions, like I'm worried that my manager will think I'm arrogant. I'm worried that if I get a pay rise, other people on the team won't. And what I want you to do is to take those scripts and flip them. So for example, I'm not arrogant, I know my value, and I'm becoming a leader who is fighting for her worth and helping to close the gender pay gap. I'm becoming a professional who negotiates as well for myself as I do for others. I'm someone who consistently strives to fulfill her potential. You get the point. All of those things are going to help you to build the confidence and inner knowing that you have to make the ask and to say the number clearly, confidently, and retaining eye contact. Tip number 3 is to bring the hard evidence. I want you to come with numbers or with business impact, things that feel nice and concrete and very tangible. So which KPIs over the past period, 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is, have you met? Which have you exceeded? And remember, it's not necessarily everything that you've done, but it's what's important in the eyes of your decision maker. So maybe you've gone and started a new social committee, for example, which is cool, but does that make a big difference to your manager, to the person in front of you who's ultimately making the decision about the level of impact and contribution you've made from a business perspective? Maybe not really. And I want you to quantify this wherever possible. And I know that a lot of people feel that they're in professions which are difficult to quantify. For example, if you are a communications manager and you've, shaped the strategy around the communications plan for the business, the narrative that you've helped to shape has mobilized stakeholders. How many departments were impacted by this new strategy? How many consumers were touched? Or if it was internal communications, how many employees did you reach? But also, even if you can't quantify it, have you had feedback about greater collaboration and productivity as a result of your new initiatives, for example? And if you don't, could you gather it? How can you gather evidence for this meeting? For example, if you've been in charge of rolling out new technology solutions that increase transparency across cross-functional teams, for example, maybe this transparency has resulted in increased collaboration, and as a ripple effect, always think like, if your action is the ripple and you think about the ripple effect in the water, what else does it mean? What else does it mean? So it's enhanced collaboration, and now this incredibly high budget project is running to time and budget, and the project is worth X million or whatever it is, in part thanks to your technology solution that you rolled out. Also think about all the times you've gone above and beyond. Did you cover for staff who left the company? Have you mentored or trained juniors, new employees? Focusing on how you're positively contributing to the team is going to give you some more evidence to justify the added value that you bring to the table. Tip number 4, and it backs up everything that we've been saying so far, but make sure that you can explain the impact that you have. A couple of ideas, we talked about running a 360-degree survey. So that's when you can survey your peers, your managers, your clients, your team, and get information about them, about the impact that you make in their lives, about the things that you bring to the table, and what it's been like working for you over the past year, for example. It's also really important for you to get really clear on the point A A since your last conversation, your last performance discussion. What was your point A? Who were you? What were you working on? Where were you at? What was your point A? And what's your point B? Where are you today? And think about all the things you've achieved and the ways in which you've grown professionally as well. Because when you up-level yourself, you are worth more as well, and you do add more value with every evolution of you. Like, what are you better at now? What are you able to juggle now that you couldn't have 6 months ago, 12 months ago? Tip number 5 is to bring a future focus. And what I mean by this is it doesn't always have to be about the past and the things you've achieved and the things that you've done over the past 6 to 12 months. Where do you see yourself going now? So your point B, what does point C look like? What vision do you have for the role? What plan of attack do you have? What would you love to see implemented? What are you going to drive? What changes are you going to make? How are you going to take this role again to the next level? Tell your manager about this. Get them bought into the dream so that they can see it's not just about paying you for what you've done, but it's paying you for being the kind of professional that can deliver what you have in mind for the future as well. Tip number 6 is that you've got to make the ask. They can't read your mind. So once you've talked about how far you've come, all of your awesome achievements, you've quantified them, you've painted a picture of the future of the next 12 months and everything that you hope to bring, at some point you've got to make the ask. Now there's a couple of things that can help you out here. I always recommend doing your market research. So this is using, LinkedIn salaries, Glassdoor, pay scale, Hayes compensation benefits reports to really understand what your market rate is. So there are loads of places you can go to try and ascertain at that number. I wouldn't bring it up straight away, but it's good to have in your toolbox should that need to come up. So you're fully prepared, you've had the conversation, here's something that you might actually say. I'd like to talk about my salary specifically and about the fact that I'd like my salary to reflect my growth and contribution, both past and future. I'd love to continue to invest my time and energy into going above and beyond, making a difference in this team, while feeling equally recognized for what I have to offer and feeling invested in accordingly. So based on the growth that I've committed to, which I'm really excited about, the value I want to bring through my unique blend of skills in analytics and project management, digital marketing expertise, plus research I've done on the competitive market rates for my skill set, I'd like to be at a base of 120K. And then you make the ask with a question, and it's really a question that says, how can we do this together? How can we solve this problem together? So some things that you could say might be, how could we make this happen? Are you able to advocate for me to get my salary to this level? What you've just done then is you've started a conversation and you've got a joint problem to solve. You're enrolling your manager on solving the problem with you. I want you to really listen in this moment, because if it's a no, you need to ask them what do they need to see and get that really clear in black and white to at least walk away with a roadmap to a pay rise. And either way, you've started the conversation and you'll be empowered to check in against that roadmap, to implement the things that they've said they need to see, for example, and keep coming back. And if you feel that consistently you're not being met at your competitive market value, you know what to do. So badass, I hope that you enjoyed this mini training on how to effectively ask for a pay rise. Remember, if you are job hunting right now, you do not want to miss my free resume masterclass, 5 keys to badass your resume so that you can land more job offers. The link again is in the description box down below. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you here next time on the Badass Careers YouTube channel. Stay badass and we'll talk soon. Bye.